Lieutenant Maya Henderson had logged exactly 247 hours in her F-35 Lightning II, all of them routine training flights and patrol missions over friendly territory. The other pilots at Thunderbolt Air Base called her textbook behind her back, not because she was brilliant, but because they believed she could only fly by the manual, never trusting her instincts in real combat. That morning, as enemy radar signatures appeared on every screen showing hostile armor advancing from 3 directions toward their base, Maya discovered something that would shatter every assumption her squadron had made about her capabilities. The first warning came at 0427 hours through the base-wide communication system that transformed peaceful pre-dawn quiet into organized chaos. Lieutenant Maya Henderson was reviewing flight procedures in the squadron ready room when alarms began screaming through every building at Thunderbolt Air Base with intensity that made seasoned personnel drop everything and sprint toward emergency stations. Condition red. All personnel to battle stations. Hostile ground forces approaching base perimeter. This is not a drill. Maya closed her flight manual and joined the stream of pilots rushing toward the operations center, her boots echoing against polished corridor floors that reflected emergency lighting activated throughout the facility. At 24 years old, she represented the squadron's most recent addition, a pilot whose exceptional performance during training had earned assignment to this forward operating base, despite never experiencing actual combat conditions. The operations center buzzed with controlled urgency as intelligence officers coordinated multiple data streams while updating tactical displays that showed real-time enemy movements converging on their position. Colonel James Morrison, the wing commander, stood before assembled personnel with expression reflecting command decisions that would determine whether they survived the next few hours. Intelligence confirms hostile armored formations advancing on our position from multiple vectors, Morrison announced while pointing to tactical displays showing red enemy symbols moving steadily toward their base. We're looking at minimum 47 vehicles, including main battle tanks, armored personnel carriers, mobile surface-to-air missile systems, and self-propelled artillery. Maya positioned herself among more experienced pilots while absorbing tactical information that described the most dangerous scenario she'd encountered since joining the squadron. Enemy forces had somehow infiltrated deep into friendly territory and were now executing coordinated assault on one of the military's most advanced air bases. "Sir, what's our response capability?" asked Captain Rodriguez, the squadron's most experienced combat pilot. "Limited. Captain Stevens is deployed on classified mission, ETA unknown. Major Thompson is grounded with mechanical issues requiring minimum 6 hours maintenance. Lieutenant Jackson is on medical leave following yesterday's training incident." Morrison reviewed available assets while calculating odds that favored enemy forces equipped with advanced anti-aircraft systems specifically designed to neutralize F-35 capabilities. The tactical situation represented exactly the kind of overwhelming opposition that conventional wisdom suggested required multiple aircraft operating in coordinated formation. "Sir," Maya stepped forward before fully considering implications of volunteering for combat mission that exceeded her operational experience by dangerous margins. "I'm available for immediate deployment." The operations center fell silent as every pilot turned toward the rookie who had just volunteered to face enemy forces that veteran aviators would find challenging under optimal conditions. Morrison looked at Maya with expression mixing surprise and skeptical evaluation. "Lieutenant Henderson, this isn't training exercise over friendly territory. We're discussing close air support against enemy ground forces equipped with advanced anti-aircraft systems specifically designed to counter F-35 operations." "Yes, sir. I understand the mission parameters. Your combat experience consists of exactly 0 hostile engagements, training flights, patrol missions, simulation exercises, no actual weapons deployment under hostile fire." "Correct, sir." Morrison studied tactical displays, showing enemy formations that had already eliminated 2 reconnaissance drones, attempting to gather intelligence on their capabilities. The approaching forces represented coordinated military operation involving equipment and tactics that exceeded typical insurgent capabilities. Lieutenant, enemy formations include SA-15 Gauntlet surface-to-air missile systems with proven capability against stealth aircraft. Additionally, they're operating under coordinated command structure, suggesting professional military training rather than irregular forces. Maya maintained professional composure while internally processing information that confirmed this mission would test every aspect of her training under conditions that challenged fundamental assumptions about F-35 invulnerability against ground-based threats. Sir, our base personnel and facilities require immediate protection. Every minute spent evaluating pilot qualifications provides enemy forces additional time to establish defensive positions. Morrison weighed options that balanced mission requirements against available resources while enemy artillery shells began impacting outer defensive perimeters. Standard protocol demanded multiple aircraft for operations against coordinated ground forces, but standard protocol assumed availability of personnel currently absent from duty roster. The tactical radio crackled with urgent transmission from perimeter defenders. Base Command, this is Overwatch 7. Enemy armor formations visible at grid reference 44 Bravo. Estimated 40-plus vehicles in coordinated advance. Request immediate air support before they reach effective firing range. Morrison looked at Maya with expression reflecting command decisions made under impossible pressure when perfect options didn't exist. Lieutenant Henderson, this mission exceeds normal risk parameters for pilots with your experience level. Are you absolutely certain you want to volunteer? Yes, sir. Understood. You're authorized for immediate combat deployment. Aircraft Lightning 77 is fueled and armed with full air-to-ground munitions package. May God help us all. Within 15 minutes, Maya was conducting comprehensive pre-flight inspection of her F-35 Lightning II, configured specifically for close air support operations. The sophisticated fighter represented cutting-edge stealth technology designed for missions requiring precision engagement of ground targets while avoiding detection by advanced enemy air defense systems. As she walked around the aircraft, Maya noticed details she'd never fully appreciated during training flights. The angular stealth coating that deflected radar signatures, the internal weapons bay that maintained low radar cross-section, the advanced sensor fusion systems that provided unprecedented battlefield awareness. Today, these weren't just technical specifications, they were life-or-death capabilities that would determine mission success. Staff Sergeant Kevin Walsh approached with weapons configuration checklist and grave expression, reflecting someone who understood the odds facing single aircraft against coordinated enemy assault. Walsh had armed hundreds of F-35s during his 12-year career, but never for a mission where single pilot would face such overwhelming opposition. Lieutenant, you're loaded with 8 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, 2 CBU-103 cluster bombs, and 500 rounds of 25mm cannon ammunition. Maximum loadout for ground attack operations, Walsh explained while reviewing each weapon system's operational parameters. The Hellfires are configured with tandem warheads specifically designed to penetrate reactive armor on main battle tanks. The cluster bombs will be effective against dispersed infantry and light armor formations. What about engagement range limitations? Maya asked while mentally calculating tactical employment parameters. Hellfire missiles effective out to 8 kilometers against stationary targets, 6 kilometers against moving armor. The 25mm cannon requires close-range engagement, effective to approximately 2 kilometers, but maximum effectiveness within 1 kilometer of target. Walsh paused while considering implications of close-range cannon employment against coordinated enemy forces equipped with anti-aircraft systems. Lieutenant, cannon engagement will require you to operate within range of enemy surface-to-air missiles and automatic weapon systems. That's extremely dangerous, even for experienced combat pilots. Understood, Sergeant. What's our estimated timeline before enemy forces reach base perimeter? Intelligence estimates may be 25 minutes before lead elements achieve effective firing positions against our facilities. After that, we'll be taking direct fire from main battle tank guns and artillery systems." Walsh checked his watch with obvious concern. "Lieutenant, those enemy formations include T-90 main battle tanks with 125mm smoothbore guns capable of engaging targets at ranges exceeding 4 kilometers. Once they establish firing positions, they can systematically destroy our aircraft hangars, fuel storage facilities, and command structures." Maya absorbed this information while completing her pre-flight checklist, calculating engagement parameters that would determine whether she could neutralize sufficient enemy forces to prevent base overrun. The mathematics were daunting: 47 enemy vehicles versus single aircraft with limited ammunition capacity. "Sergeant, what's the tactical assessment of enemy air defense capabilities?" "Intelligence confirms minimum 2 SA-15 Gauntlet systems, possibly more. Each system includes 4 surface-to-air missiles with active radar guidance and proximity fusing. Maximum effective altitude approximately 15,000 feet, maximum range 25 kilometers." Walsh's expression reflected someone delivering information that could determine pilot survival. Additionally, many of their armored vehicles are equipped with integrated air defense systems, automatic weapons, and short-range missiles, specifically designed to engage low-flying aircraft. Maya completed her pre-flight checklist while calculating engagement parameters that would determine whether she could neutralize sufficient enemy forces to prevent base overrun. The F-35's advanced targeting systems provided capabilities for precision engagement, but success required tactical execution that exceeded anything demonstrated during training scenarios. As she strapped into the cockpit, Maya activated the aircraft's sophisticated electronic warfare systems. The APG-81A ESA radar began scanning the operational area, while the distributed aperture system provided 360-degree situational awareness through high-definition infrared cameras mounted around the aircraft. The electro-optical targeting system initialized, offering precision targeting capabilities that could engage ground targets at extended ranges. The cockpit displays came alive with tactical information that painted a comprehensive picture of the battlefield. Enemy formations appeared as red symbols advancing steadily toward base perimeter, while friendly defensive positions showed blue markers indicating personnel who depended on her success for survival. The F-35's Pratt & Whitney F-135 engine produced characteristic whine as Maya initiated startup procedures that activated sophisticated electronic systems designed to provide air superiority in contested environments. She settled into pilot controls while reviewing tactical displays that showed real-time enemy movements approaching their defensive perimeter. "Tower, this is Lightning 7-7 requesting immediate takeoff clearance for combat air support mission." "Lightning 7-7, Tower, you are cleared for immediate departure. Good hunting, Lieutenant." The F-35 accelerated down the runway with thrust that pressed Maya against her seat while she lifted off into dawn sky that would soon witness aerial combat, determining whether Thunderbolt Air Base survived coordinated enemy assault. Below her, she could observe personnel rushing to defensive positions while enemy artillery continued impacting outer perimeters with increasing accuracy. But as Maya climbed toward operational altitude, something unexpected began happening. The complex tactical requirements triggered responses that felt like awakening rather than learning. Her hands moved across flight controls with confidence that exceeded her limited combat experience, while tactical awareness seemed to expand beyond normal sensory capabilities. Base Command, Lightning 7-7 airborne and proceeding to target area. Beginning tactical assessment of enemy formations. Through her advanced targeting systems, Maya could observe enemy ground forces that represented coordinated military operation involving dozens of armored vehicles advancing in formation that demonstrated professional tactical training. The lead elements consisted of main battle tanks providing heavy firepower, followed by armored personnel carriers transporting infantry forces, with mobile surface-to-air missiles providing anti-aircraft coverage. But instead of feeling intimidated by overwhelming enemy superiority, Maya experienced something remarkable. absolute tactical clarity that allowed her to perceive enemy formations not as insurmountable threat, but as targets presenting specific vulnerabilities that could be exploited through precise application of air power. Base Command, Lightning 77 has visual contact with enemy formations. 47 vehicles confirmed in 3 separate columns advancing on our position. Initiating attack sequence. Maya's tactical display showed enemy formations in unprecedented detail. The lead column consisted of 12 main battle tanks advancing along the primary access road, supported by 6 armored personnel carriers carrying infantry reinforcements. The second column included 8 self-propelled artillery pieces moving through forest terrain toward elevated firing positions that would allow them to bombard base facilities with indirect fire. The third column represented the most immediate threat, mobile surface-to-air missile systems advancing to establish anti-aircraft coverage while protecting the advancing armor from air attack. These systems needed to be neutralized first, or Maya would face increasingly deadly opposition with each subsequent attack run. But as Maya studied enemy positions through her targeting systems, something remarkable happened. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by tactical complexity, she began perceiving patterns and vulnerabilities that seemed obvious, despite never having encountered similar situations during training. The enemy formations were following doctrine that prioritized mutual protection over individual survivability. Their vehicles maintained close proximity to provide overlapping fields of fire, but this concentration also created opportunities for weapons with area effects to achieve multiple target kills with single engagement. Maya selected her first target, the lead SA-15 surface-to-air missile system, whose destruction would eliminate primary anti-aircraft threat and allow freedom of maneuver for subsequent engagements. But instead of conducting standard long-range engagement as taught during training, she identified approach vector that would allow simultaneous engagement of secondary targets using debris and secondary explosions. The F-35's advanced fire control system computed optimal attack parameters while she maneuvered into position that maximized weapon effectiveness while minimizing exposure to enemy defensive fire. Her first AGM-114 Hellfire missile launched with precision that reflected training suddenly transformed into deadly capability. The weapon tracked perfectly to target, detonating with devastating effect that eliminated the surface-to-air missile system in spectacular explosion visible from base perimeter. But Maya had calculated the engagement geometry to maximize secondary effects. Burning debris from the destroyed missile launcher ignited fuel trucks positioned nearby, creating chain reaction that eliminated 3 additional vehicles without expending additional ammunition. Direct hit on primary SAM site with multiple secondary explosions, Maya reported while already selecting second target. 4 enemy vehicles destroyed with single engagement, enemy anti-aircraft umbrella compromised, continuing engagement sequence. Colonel Morrison watched tactical displays in base operations center with growing amazement as Maya's first attack achieved results that exceeded optimal effectiveness calculations. Intelligence officers scrambled to update damage assessments while communications specialists monitored enemy radio traffic that reflected increasing confusion and concern. But what happened next surprised everyone monitoring the engagement from Base Operations Center. Instead of conducting methodical attacks that conserved ammunition while minimizing risk exposure, Maya began demonstrating tactical innovation that exceeded standard close air support doctrine. She identified vulnerability in enemy formation that conventional tactics would have missed. The advancing armor was following terrain features that channeled their movement into natural choke points where single weapons could achieve maximum effectiveness against multiple targets. Maya rolled the F-35 into steep diving attack that brought her within dangerous proximity of enemy forces while positioning for cannon engagement against clustered armor formation. The maneuver violated every safety protocol taught during training, yet resulted in devastating effectiveness as 25mm cannon fire penetrated multiple armored vehicles with precision that seemed impossible at such close range. The Gatling gun's depleted uranium ammunition proved devastatingly effective against enemy armor. Each burst consisted of 60 rounds, fired in 1-second intervals, with muzzle velocity exceeding 3,400 feet per second. At close range, these projectiles could penetrate reactive armor systems that protected enemy tanks from conventional anti-tank weapons. Maya's strafing run eliminated 5 main battle tanks in single pass, but her tactical innovation extended beyond simple target destruction. She had deliberately targeted lead and trailing vehicles in enemy column, creating obstacles that prevented remaining tanks from maneuvering while making them vulnerable to follow-up attacks. "Jesus Christ," Captain Rodriguez muttered while observing tactical displays in Operations Center. "She's conducting gun runs at treetop level against coordinated armor formation. That's not textbook flying. That's completely rewriting the manual." "Sir," Intelligence Officer Lieutenant Davis interrupted while monitoring enemy communications. "We're intercepting radio traffic indicating enemy commanders are requesting immediate withdrawal. They're reporting engagement by multiple aircraft using unknown tactical procedures." Morrison leaned forward to study tactical displays that showed single F-35 achieving combat effectiveness that intelligence assessments had predicted would require minimum squadron strength operations. Maya's attacks were eliminating enemy vehicles faster than opposing forces could adapt their defensive measures. But Maya's attack patterns revealed sophistication that exceeded individual innovation. She was conducting coordinated suppression of enemy air defenses while simultaneously engaging ground targets, using terrain masking to avoid detection between attack runs, and employing electronic countermeasures to disrupt enemy communication and targeting systems. Lightning 7-7, Base Command, outstanding performance. Continue current engagement pattern, but be advised we're monitoring enemy reinforcements approximately 15 kilometers northeast of your position. Maya acknowledged the transmission while banking hard to avoid surface-to-air missile fired from secondary launcher her initial attack had missed. The enemy projectile passed within 50 meters of her aircraft, close enough that proximity fusing should have detonated the warhead. Instead, Maya's electronic countermeasures had disrupted the missile's guidance systems, causing it to fly harmlessly past her aircraft. Instead of withdrawing to safer engagement distance, Maya reversed course and eliminated the missile launcher with precision Hellfire strike that demonstrated spatial awareness exceeding normal pilot capabilities. But her tactical innovation continued evolving throughout the engagement as she adapted to changing battlefield conditions with responses that seemed to anticipate enemy actions before they occurred. The second SA-15 surface-to-air missile system attempted to establish firing solution on Maya's aircraft while repositioning to support surviving ground forces. Maya detected the radar lock through her electronic warfare systems and immediately executed countermeasures that included both active jamming and chaff deployment. Simultaneously, she launched Hellfire missile that destroyed the SAM system before it could fire. 2 surface-to-air missile systems neutralized, Maya reported, while transitioning to engagement of artillery formation that posed long-range threat to base facilities. Enemy indirect fire capability targeted for elimination. The self-propelled artillery pieces had established firing positions on elevated terrain that provided optimal range and accuracy for bombardment of Thunderbolt Air Base. These systems represented strategic threat that could systematically destroy base infrastructure even if direct assault was repelled. Maya approached the artillery positions using terrain masking that concealed her aircraft until final attack phase. The enemy gunners had positioned their systems for optimal firing solutions against ground targets, but their placement made them vulnerable to air attack from specific approach vectors. Her cluster bomb attack against artillery formation achieved devastating effectiveness as submunitions dispersed across entire target area, destroying 6 self-propelled guns and their supporting ammunition vehicles in single engagement. Secondary explosions from detonating artillery shells created additional destruction that eliminated nearby air defense positions. When the final enemy vehicle erupted in flames, Maya had eliminated 47 hostile targets using exactly 8 Hellfire missiles, 2 cluster bombs, and 430 rounds of cannon ammunition. Her efficiency exceeded combat effectiveness ratios achieved by multiple aircraft formations while operating under less challenging conditions. Base Command, Lightning 7-7, all hostile targets neutralized, enemy ground threat eliminated, returning to base. The landing at Thunderbolt Air Base marked end of combat engagement that would be studied by tactical analysts for years afterward. Maya had single-handedly defeated coordinated enemy assault that conventional assessment suggested required multiple aircraft operating under optimal conditions. As she shut down aircraft systems and removed her helmet, Maya became aware that ground personnel throughout the base were watching her with expressions that mixed amazement with professional respect. The textbook pilot, who had never demonstrated combat capability, had just achieved tactical victory that exceeded performance parameters of veteran aviators. Colonel Morrison approached her aircraft with expression reflecting command officer whose assumptions about pilot capabilities had been completely overturned. "Lieutenant Henderson, that was the most remarkable display of close air support I've witnessed in 23 years of military service." "Thank you, sir. Where did you develop tactical techniques that exceeded everything taught in our advanced combat training programs?" Maya paused while considering response to question she couldn't answer logically. "Sir, during the engagement everything felt instinctive, like I was applying knowledge I didn't realize I possessed." "Instinctive?" "Sir, the tactical solutions seemed obvious rather than innovative. Enemy formations presented vulnerabilities that required specific responses to achieve optimal results." Morrison studied after-action reports documenting Maya's performance while attempting to understand how rookie pilot had achieved combat effectiveness that challenged established parameters for individual aircraft operations against coordinated ground forces. "Lieutenant, your attack sequences demonstrated tactical awareness that typically requires years of combat experience to develop. You conducted close-range cannon attacks against armored formations while avoiding surface-to-air missiles through maneuvering that exceeded standard evasion protocols." "Yes, sir." "Additionally, your weapon employment efficiency achieved results that our tactical planners estimated would require minimum 3 aircraft operating in coordinated formation." The recognition continued as intelligence officers analyzed battlefield footage that documented Maya's engagement from multiple perspectives. Her tactical innovation included attack patterns that had never been officially taught while achieving precision that challenged technological limitations of targeting systems. "Lieutenant," Major Stevens approached after returning from his classified mission, "I've reviewed gun camera footage from your engagement. Your tactical execution included maneuvers that violated several safety protocols while achieving results that exceeded optimal effectiveness parameters. Sir, the tactical situation required adaptation of standard procedures to achieve mission success." "Adaptation?" "You reinvented close air support doctrine during single combat engagement. The debriefing session revealed details that transformed Maya's reputation from questionable rookie to tactical innovator whose capabilities exceeded squadron standards. Her combat performance had eliminated enemy threat that intelligence assessment suggested could have overrun base defenses if allowed to achieve optimal attack positions. But Maya's greatest achievement wasn't tactical. It was psychological transformation that occurred when circumstances demanded performance exceeding theoretical limitations. The pilot, who had been dismissed as textbook, had discovered capabilities that transcended academic training through practical application under conditions that separated competent aviators from legendary ones. "Henderson," Captain Rodriguez approached her after formal debriefing concluded, "I owe you an apology. We underestimated your capabilities based on training performance rather than actual potential." "No apology necessary, sir." "Actually, there is. We made assumptions about combat effectiveness based on conventional assessment criteria rather than recognizing that some pilots discover their true capabilities only when circumstances demand maximum performance." The conversation reflected broader recognition within Squadron that Maya's achievement represented validation of individual excellence that exceeded institutional expectations. Her combat debut had demonstrated capabilities that challenged fundamental assumptions about pilot development and tactical effectiveness. 3 weeks later, Lieutenant Maya Henderson received Distinguished Flying Cross for extraordinary achievement during aerial combat that saved Thunderbolt Air Base from coordinated enemy assault. The citation specifically noted tactical innovation that resulted in complete enemy formation destruction through single aircraft operation that exceeded standard combat effectiveness parameters. But Maya's greatest satisfaction came from recognition by fellow pilots whose initial skepticism had been replaced by professional respect, earned through performance under conditions that tested human capabilities against technological limitations. "You know," Major Stevens observed during squadron meeting, "we were wrong about Henderson. We assumed textbook flying indicated inability to adapt under combat conditions. Instead, it reflected mastery of fundamentals that provided foundation for tactical innovation when circumstances demanded creative solutions." Maya's combat debut became case study in advanced pilot training programs throughout the military, demonstrating that individual excellence could achieve strategic effects when supported by technological capabilities and tactical innovation that exceeded conventional operational parameters. The enemy forces that had surrounded Thunderbolt Air Base never realized they were facing single pilot whose capabilities transcended normal assessment criteria. Their coordinated assault had been neutralized by Aviator, who discovered that exceptional performance emerged when training met determination under conditions that demanded maximum individual effectiveness. Maya had proven that being called textbook wasn't limitation. It was foundation for tactical excellence that could be applied innovatively when circumstances required performance exceeding standard parameters. Sometimes the most dangerous opponents were those who mastered fundamentals so thoroughly that innovation became instinctive response to tactical challenges. 6 months later, Captain Maya Henderson was assigned to Elite Squadron specializing in close air support operations, requiring tactical innovation under challenging conditions. Her techniques became required study for pilots whose missions demanded individual effectiveness that exceeded conventional unit capabilities. The morning when hostile forces surrounded Thunderbolt Air Base, Maya had discovered something about herself that training couldn't teach, that excellence emerged when technical competence met tactical imagination under conditions that challenged every assumption about individual capability and institutional limitation. Her fellow pilots no longer called her textbook. They called her nightmare, the call sign given to aviators whose combat effectiveness exceeded enemy countermeasures while achieving tactical results that challenged theoretical parameters of individual aircraft operations. Maya had become exactly what enemy forces feared most, a pilot whose capabilities transcended their ability to predict, counter, or survive when circumstances demanded performance that redefined air superiority through individual excellence applied under conditions that separated legends from ordinary military personnel. The F-35 Lightning II that had carried her through that historic engagement became symbol of tactical innovation that proved technology reached its full potential only when operated by individuals whose capabilities exceeded standard assessment criteria while achieving results that challenged every limitation except determination and will to succeed against overwhelming odds. Lieutenant Maya Henderson had entered combat as rookie pilot, whose capabilities were questioned by her own squadron. She emerged as tactical innovator, whose achievements would influence close air support doctrine for decades, while proving that individual excellence could achieve strategic effects when circumstances demanded performance, exceeding every expectation except the possibility of victory through capabilities that transcended normal limitations. The base that enemy forces had expected to overrun remained operational, protected by Aviator, who had discovered that being underestimated was tactical advantage when backed by training, technology, and absolute refusal to accept defeat as anything other than temporary obstacle, requiring innovative solution that transformed disadvantage into overwhelming superiority through individual performance that exceeded every parameter except imagination and determination to protect those who depended on tactical excellence applied under impossible conditions. Maya's story became proof that sometimes the most effective response to superior enemy forces wasn't multiple aircraft formations. It was single pilot whose capabilities transcended conventional assessment while achieving results that redefined individual effectiveness through tactical innovation that challenged every assumption about combat limitations and human potential. When circumstances demanded maximum performance, under conditions that separated competent aviators from those whose achievements became legendary examples of excellence applied under pressure that revealed capabilities exceeding every expectation. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, you can subscribe to see more incredible stories like this one.